One of the things we've kind of dealt with for a long time here is the fact that there's a quality versus quantity issue here. And so, yes, we get a lot of content from the players, but frankly, most of it's kind of crappy. Some of it's pretty good. A little bit of it's great, a very, very small amount. This is what we call power law distribution. But as we give them better and better tools, I think we're going to get in the process of being able to pull up into this curve here. And it's an increase the quality of what you're doing, which means that not only is it a value to them, but it's a value to other people as well. So basically, we have players building models as they play games. We're reverse engineering the system in their head, building models. But basically, we also have the ability now to start building models of the players. The computer can actually look at what the players are doing and try to understand what is this player like doing, what are they good at, etc., and start building a model. We can look at things like how they move across the gameplay landscape. This is data that we captured from the Sims over 1,000 players, directions they went in the possibility space. We can look at things like what they buy when we present the shopping alternatives in the game. We can look at things like social networks that they form with other players, or even kind of social interaction frequencies, the type of social interactions they do with other people. Are they mean? Are they nice? Are they friendly? And from that, we can build fairly elaborate computer models predicting their behavior. So the game we're working on now, Spore, basically is kind of taking that idea, or a collection of these ideas. What if we could give a player a very simple set of levers where they could build these kind of like Tinker Toy things, but the computer then takes that and amplifies it. It actually builds out incredible high-risk mesh, textures, animations, and behavior, and then presents them with a very kind of high-res output relative to what they put in. So with a few simple levers, they get a tremendous amount of creative amplification on their efforts. And now, if we were able to do that, that asset that they've made not only has value to them, but to their players as well. Now, at the same time, what if we could take those assets and then collect them all on a server? Is this large collection of things that the players are making as they play, and categorize those, but take the player model. What is this player like? What have we seen about the way they play the game? And predict what kind of stuff that other players have made would they like in their world, and bring it back into their world. And that's kind of what Spore is about. It's about how do we close this loop, giving the players power tools, and then giving them the ability to redistribute them. So in fact, I really want to kind of take the player out of the role of Luke Skywalker, the protagonist, and put them more into the role of George Lucas. And make them the creator of these powers. Can we basically extract the entire world from their imagination? Spore was kind of inspired by the Power of the 10 and a few other things, SETI project, Drake's equation. I noticed that all the terms of Drake's equation really kind of mapped to Powers of 10 pretty cleanly. So we really decided to make a game that was kind of about a whole universe, from the very small to the very large. And I'm going to show you a quick demo here. Let's put this up here. So a lot of the work on Spore really has been about the player tools. And in The Sims, the player tools were external to the game. What happened is that you would play The Sims, you could create a Sim to create a house and stuff inside the game, but to create objects and textures and wallpapers and all this other stuff, you kind of had to go outside the game, create a tool, download it off the website, put it in the right folder. There was a lot of friction, basically, for players to create stuff. So what we wanted to do is basically take all the tools and fold them back into the gameplay. So the process of playing the game was the process of making assets for the game. That was really kind of part of the challenge and fun of the gameplay. And then we would actually collect these assets and redistribute them automatically, rather than the players having to go out to all these websites, download stuff in the right folders. We wanted the game to kind of predict stuff that would make their world more interesting. Now, the result of doing that is we were able to build basically kind of an infinite-sized world for the players to kind of play around in. Just to give you kind of a brief sense of it, we can bring up the sound a little bit on this. You start the game at a very, very small level, basically in a drop of water. It's a single-cell creature. And the gameplay actually gets kind of more elaborate as you go along. So this is our little creature here. This is like he swims around. And basically, he's just eating little food pellets right now. And right now, there's very little challenge to the game. I'm basically looking for food pellets to eat. But as I eat the food pellets, my little creature is growing over time. And what will happen in the cell game is that we're actually going to transition to many orders of magnitude as we go along. And here, a couple more, we'll actually start seeing the camera pull back. So the world itself actually kind of becomes a little more expansive. And creatures that were in the background there now become in the foreground there. So we kind of get a transition of things, that are out of depth of field, that are out of focus. That as we grow, they sort of kind of interact with us. This goes about me, so I'm going to show you. Okay. But anyway, over time, you're basically playing this single-cell creature. And then as you get larger and larger, you eventually kind of move out of the water and on land. and you become a more fully formed macroscopic three-dimensional creature. So the game starts with like a very simple kind of two-dimensional Pac-Man-like dynamic, and then over time it kind of then evolves, really, actually kind of every generation of the species through evolution, up to a 3D, kind of a third-person eater kind of environment here. So here's my little creature. This was my cell, basically, after skipping way ahead here, but going through about 5 or 6 orders of magnitude. We're now on land. It's this little kind of slimy slug thing. Now this world, I can do things like less stealthy. I have certain properties on my creature here. And if I can look around, I might find something I can eat, or at least monetize, so I'll eat them. Now in the game, basically, at this point we're playing a very simple kind of game of evolution. And we have to eat, survive, reproduce. Now those guys are probably too big for me. Here's some small things over here. Now if I get stealthy, I might need to sneak up on this little baby. These things are baby, these large things. Okay, he's running away. He's looking back to the camera. Oh, okay. Getting out of there. I wasn't supposed to die. Okay. Well, I'm going to shoot now. Now, really what I would have done is find one of my species and reproduce with it after eating a certain amount of points. So I'm going to shoot here and go ahead and reproduce. And when you reproduce, basically you go into the egg, and this is kind of the next level editor of the game. And so we basically have this very simple little form here, but now we have a three-dimensional creature that can kind of grab by its little thing here. It's very much kind of what you see is what you get in editor. We want it to feel very tactile, very toy-like. I can expand the spine here, manipulate it if I want. I can use the mouse wheel to kind of inflate and deflate it. And so we want this part to feel very much like that. We have to come up with metaphors for each part of the game. And then we have parts. So this is the mouth. I'm going to pull off this mouth here. And these are limbs. And I want the players to be able to kind of create anything they can imagine. And so we didn't want to have a lot of preconditions kind of on what the creature had to be, because we're really expecting it to be these kind of amazing, weird creatures that players want to build. So I'm going to take this guy, instead of putting hands on there, I'm going to put some mouths on his arms. Yeah.